I was shocked because we had never kissed, we had never touched, we had not even held hands, nothing, like nothing has happened between us. And I had never gone after men because of money. I've always gone because of love, 100%. How do you apologize in the morning and do the same exact thing in the evening, same day? That is so freaking disrespectful. Hello cookies, it's Siri. I am back. I just got back from work. As you can tell from the title, I received money from a random guy. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to call this video, but I received money from a random guy and I loved it, cookies. I loved it. So let's start from the beginning. As you can probably tell, I'm not living at my crazy landlord's place anymore. I am living in my colleague's mother-in-law's apartment. It's an emergency housing situation for me. And before that, I was living at my other colleague's house because 3 days after I got back from Germany, my landlord attacked me. The police was involved. It's a huge thing that happened. And she ran away through the back door when the police tried to get her. I mean, it was super insane, but my colleagues really stepped up and they have been helping me and taking care of me. And that's why I have this really nice place at the moment for the next couple of days. But what happened is that when I was on the way back from Germany to Sweden, I was upset and I was also bored on the train because it was a 13 hours ride. So I decided to go back on Tinder. I had not been on there for months or even like the whole year almost. And I just did something that I never, ever, ever do. I swiped right on everyone because I felt like, okay, men do it. Maybe it works, but I was mostly really just bored. And I never, ever, ever do that. If I'm really serious about talking to people on Tinder or doing Tinder stuff or any dating app, really, I swipe right maybe twice a week, so 2 people at most, because I'm very selective and I know what I want and I'm usually quite good at reading profiles. Anyway, I matched with this guy that is clearly someone that I would have never ever swiped right on. He is 199 centimeters, so almost 2 meters, very tall, very conventionally attractive, has tattoos, which is not really my thing. He has that look that says I am handsome and I know it, and I avoid those kinds of men because I just don't like it. I'm not really into the bad boy type or the very conventionally attractive alpha male looking kind of men. It's not my thing. I like sweet nerds. But he messaged me something really interesting, I think, like a long paragraph related to video games or something. But he caught my attention amongst something like 50 messages that I received because I swiped right on everyone like a freaking weirdo. He caught my attention, so we started to talk. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Wednesday that thing with my landlord happened. So I was in the midst of that. I was brought by the police to my colleague because they wanted to protect me against my landlord and they said you cannot sleep here tonight. We kept on talking, so he was like, it seems like a difficult situation. Do you need some help? And the thing is, my colleagues were a little bit scared or uncomfortable going to my landlord's place to help me pack, but they offered because they said, Erie, you can't possibly go there alone because that crazy lady is dangerous. Even the police said the same thing. That's when it dawned on me that he used to be a professional fighter, so doing MMA and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and things like that, and he's tall and muscular and looks very scary. I was like, well, actually, there is something. So I asked him if he could just come with me and I would do all the packing, but he would just be my kind of bodyguard. He said yes, which was very nice because I was just some random woman on Tinder. So we were supposed to do that Saturday, but I got sick Friday, which was a whole other story. He had a bad night, so we were doing it on Sunday. He arrived extremely late on Sunday. I was already almost on location. And that is a very important part of this whole story. But he still showed up. I was not sure he would show up. My colleagues told me that if he were not going to show up, of course, they would help me. And they were a bit skeptical of the whole plan because I did tell them that I had never met the guy before. And they were like, Erie, are you sure about this? And Sebastian is like, are you sure about this? And I said, They already helped me so much. My colleagues have helped me so freaking much throughout this whole ordeal. It's thanks to my colleague that I got to stay longer in Germany, because she told our boss, Erie cannot stay at that crazy lady's place. So she told our boss she needs to go back to Germany and stay there for as long as possible. So my colleagues have already done so much. I did not want to bother them, and I knew that it would take forever for me to pack. So he arrived super late, but he was there, and then I packed for 7 hours. I know it's crazy, but for me, packing is very traumatic. I hate it. I hate packing. It's very stressful, and so I'm really slow. So yeah, it took me the whole day of that Sunday, and he was just sitting there because I did not want him to pack my things, because he's still a stranger and my things are my things. But we got along well, and he made me laugh and stuff. And then when we were supposed to leave, he said, I will pay for a taxi. I wanted to take the train and or ask my colleague to just come with her car when everything is packed. But he said, no, Ira, you've been through enough. I shall offer you the taxi back to the place. And keep in mind that the place where I was packing is somewhere called Eslöv in Sweden. And then I still had some of my belongings in Lund, with my other colleague, and then going to this place here. And he also had to take an Uber XL because I had 3 suitcases and 2 big boxes. And that's a lot of kilometers, and I'm pretty sure that cost at least 2,000 crowns, which is about 200 euros, $200 for a stranger. But I thought that was super sweet and super nice, and I have gifts and acts of service as my love languages, and that went straight here. I was like, oh, that is very nice of him to help a stranger like this, and then to offer to pay for the taxi as well. I thought that was super nice, and he carried all the suitcases because there was no elevator where I lived in Eslöv. And everything was heavy, my back was hurting, my shoulders were hurting, so he was carrying everything. Even coming up here to this place, he was still carrying everything. Fast forward to the week after, we were supposed to have phone calls. Every time he ghosted me. He was like, yeah, later, he ghosted me. I asked him a few times if he wanted to play co-op, because he said, yeah, we should play, and he made me download Valheim again. I have it already, so I did not need to buy it, but he was like, yeah, I can buy it for you if you want, and I said, no, I already have it. But the 2 times that I asked to play, he just ghosted and ignored me or something, so 4 times. Then he wanted to invite me to this fancy Korean restaurant Saturday after that. And actually the owner is someone that was on the chef's competition on Netflix thingy. I mean, she got eliminated quite quickly, but she's in season 2 and her restaurant is supposed to be quite good. So I thought, okay, this is nice. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to invite you. Because first I said, oh, I can't afford. And he's like, I would have not let you pay. And so for me, I was like, okay. But the whole week, basically, he never respected the times that we were supposed to have phone calls or play. And I already had the feeling that the date on Saturday would be cancelled, even though I received the booking in my email, or no, on WhatsApp, I received the booking confirmation because we were talking on WhatsApp. But the moment that we were all waiting for, the money thingy, we were chatting on Wednesday last week. So it was just a couple of days ago. Today is Tuesday. So this was Wednesday last week. I was telling him, this is going to be too much information, cookies, maybe. I was telling him that I usually prefer being totally hairless in my private area. And in Singapore, I used to have this subscription where I would go there every 3 weeks, and it cost something like $14 or $15 every time. And in Berlin, I used to go as well, because there it cost 20 euros, and then I would tip 5 euros, so around 25 euros. But first of all, I have been single now for 2 years, so there's no point for me. And secondly, in Leipzig, it's around 65, 70 euros. And you cookies know that I'm trying to save 2 euros here, 4 euros here, 6 euros there. Like, I'm very careful with my money, and I can't afford that. I can't afford to put 65 to 80 euros into freaking Brazilian waxing. And of course, I also personally prefer having absolutely nothing down there. too much information. That is my preferred state. And when I have enough money for that kind of stuff, I would probably go for laser or electrolysis, or even just go in regularly every 3 weeks for Brazilian waxing again, because that is what I prefer. But I have not had the money for that. And also, I'm freaking single, so it doesn't really matter what happens there. I don't mind. Oh my God, too much information. But he was like, oh, okay. And we were talking about that, not in a adult way, as in not in a sexual way, but just chatting about it. We had not even been really flirting like that, like just talking like friends, really, which was working for me better because he has a lot of red flags, but I felt like he helped me, he paid for the taxi, and he seems to be somewhat a nice person, so why not continue talking? So he was like, oh, how much is Brazilian waxing here in Sweden? And I said, well, usually between 600 to 1,000 crowns. Less than 1 minute after I said that, my phone bleeped, and there's this app called Swish that we use here in Sweden. That is, I guess, the Venmo in the US or something. It's instantaneous. You use the phone number to send money. He sent me 1,000 crowns. He called the send pubic help, which I thought was funny. But I was shocked because we had never kissed, we had never touched, we had not even held hands, nothing, like nothing has happened between us. We had not talked about dating in a serious way or really in a non-serious way, like there is no commitment between the two of us, you know? Oh my God, cookies. I got all kinds of positive feelings from that. We're not even really flirting, he's not my boyfriend or partner. And for me, I really associate gifts and acts of service and money to love, because my parents always put money under a lot of conditions. Even when it was things that were necessary, they would always remind me that, oh, you know, we gave you money for healthcare stuff, or, you know, like things necessary for life that a parent should do. And my parents never agreed to give me pocket money, so I started to work when I was 13. And since then, I've always worked all the time. I've had more than 50 jobs, from like really fancy, prestigious-ish jobs to, you know, cleaning places. I'm not joking. I became homeless after my divorce because my ex-husband took everything. He kicked me out during the pandemic, so I was effectively homeless, sleeping on people's floors, and I was cleaning stairs to try to make ends meet. You did not know that, cookies, but it's been difficult. So I've always had to fight very hard, but I've never felt like I've had enough. I've never had financial security. Of course, in relationships, all of my exes have spoiled me very, 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 very much, because for me, I find that very sweet, and I usually fall in love when people put a lot of efforts towards gifts or taking care of me or being sweet to me. I'm very weak to those kinds of things, and I'm used to, of course, exes getting me things that I want without any specific reason. Like my ex in Singapore, when I was 19, he knew that I really wanted a MacBook Pro, so he got me a MacBook Pro 17-inch on a random Tuesday, just like that. And then my ex after that got me like a Nintendo 3DS XL and some trips. My ex-husband has gotten me everything pretty much that I wanted, and including a car, not for me, but to teach me how to drive. Sebastian has given me a lens, a Steam Deck, what else, like a microwave. My ex before that has given me my 2 Switch consoles and dresses. Like basically my exes have all been very sweet with that, because they have come to realize that gifts and acts of service really work for me. And I think to some extent that's how I got caught in relationships longer than I should have, because for me I really associate those things to love. When this guy sent me those 1,000 crowns, I felt love. I felt this is such a good feeling, because I don't have to be a girlfriend. This is not work either. I don't have to be flirty. And by the way, I had not had any makeup when I met with this guy, so he met me still quite sick and exhausted and stressed by the move. So I did not have to perform. I did not have to do anything. I just had to be me, cookies. I just had to exist and be me. And someone thought that, yeah, she deserves some money to take care of herself somehow, while Brazilian wax. This felt super, super good, cookies. Like it felt just so freaking amazing. And I had never gone after men because of money. I've always gone because of love, 100%. And it's one of the reasons as well that I cut my father out, because my ex before Sebastian is broke. He had massive debts and he could not afford a lot of things, but he always tried. And then my father was basically saying that he was a loser because he could not take care of me financially or things like that. And that pissed me off, because for me, love is more important. How do I say this now? I felt aroused physically, like my heart was beating, I was getting hot and sweaty, like, like physically and emotionally, I felt all kinds of good and just so freaking positive, like bursts of fireworks everywhere. And it's not even the amount, like, okay, you're going to say like all of that for 1,000 crowns. You know, I did not hint at it, I did not expect it, I did not ask for it, and we'd never established any kind of dialogue related to that kind of stuff. And he just did it. But I sent him back the money because the whole week he has kept on disrespecting my time. Like I told you, he has ghosted me multiple times, never got back to me. And so I told him Sunday morning that I was irritated at him. And he asked why, and I told him that, you know, these times and these times and these times you have not respected my time. And he agreed and he apologized. And I told him I accept your apology. And when I say that, I really mean it. Guess what he did Sunday evening? Same thing again. He said, okay, but let's game this evening. And I said, okay, yeah. He said, let's do it at 19. He ghosted me and got back to me at 19:35 and said, I'm in a meeting, lol. And like with this like laughing emoji. And I was just like, okay. And then at 20:05, so basically 1 hour and 5 minutes later, he got back to me and said, now we can play. And I was just so over it, because I go to bed at 9:30, so we would have maybe 1 hour to play before I need to do my routine, brush my teeth and everything. How do you apologize in the morning and do the same exact thing in the evening, same day? That is so freaking disrespectful. I sent him back all the money, like all the money with the 1,000 crowns, and I called the sand, my time is not for sale. And he was like, I don't know how to interpret your silence. And I told him what I told you now, that how do you apologize in the morning and do the same exact thing in the evening? And then he said, I'm not going to argue with you. And that's the last message I got from him. I already feel, Cookies, like I should have cut him out much earlier, because he has so many red flags that I don't usually like with men. First of all of his exes were psycho and crazy, and all the previous relationships were toxic. And keep in mind, this dude is 37. Also, he has confessed that he has slept with a lot of people in Thailand because he loves Thailand. You know, Swedish man who loves Thailand. And he caught some STDs there. I know. I forgot to mention that he also went to jail for 2 months for drug trafficking and then did community service afterwards instead of going to prison. He has also consumed, of course, the substances that he was selling, and he still does consume illegal stuff when he travels. He was a bad student at school. I've always been a good student. Clearly, we are very different people on so many levels, so this whole story is very much unlike me. All of my exes have told me that they never thought I would be interested in them. The common ground, I think, is that all of them accidentally did gifts and acts of service very fast, very early, and they just hooked me. And that's like really such a stupid cheat sheet, because if you have other types of love languages, it might be harder. But for me, you get me stuff. Like, I fantasize about this, that I go on nice dates with a guy, and then on the third date, he gets me a Steam Deck OLED and asks me to be his girlfriend. Ooh. I'll be like, of course, 100%, yes, because that would tell me that he listens to me, he knows what I like, and he wants to make me happy, and that he's serious about, you know, committing to me. A girl can dream. To be fair, I decided in 2025, in the beginning of the year, around spring, that I think I would probably be single forever. Maybe it will happen, maybe it will not. But anyway, that's it for today's story time, Cookies. It actually feels quite fun to tell all of this. Bye!